Welcome to the Hoops Rehab Show on a Wednesday night. A couple games tonight in the association. Ready to discuss it like always. How you doing, Eric?
Good, man. Doing real well. We got schools out for a couple teams. Not for the Boston Celtics, which I know we'll get into in a second. But yeah, man, it's been a good night of catching some basketball. And how's everything with you?
Yeah, same thing, man. You always NBA is a great time. We're getting down to less teams, so we're going to start going every day, which is one game. So I'm going to kind of miss all this first round, second round action. But like always, guys, follow us on social media. I'm at the Game Injury Doc, aka Dr. Evan Jeffries, and then Eric B. Mack at all our handles on social media platforms. And then we also have the Hoops Rehab Show YouTube page and our Instagram as well. And don't forget, after the live show, we will be uploading the pod, which you can get anywhere you have podcasts. So Apple, Spotify, please download the Hoops Rehab Show. And if you can rate and comment, even better. But let's get it cracking. So first game of the night, Celtics and Knicks. And the storyline going into the game was Jayson Tatum tore his Achilles, and he already had surgery, which is terrible. I mean, you never want to see a star player go down like that. But going into this game with all the emotions that Boston was probably going through, they went out and handled their business. What did you see in the game, Eric?
They sure did. So I wasn't it definitely wasn't impossible for a still talented team like Boston Celtics to win, one game against the Knicks at home. I thought that was very well possible. But what I wanted to see was the psyche of Boston, not only the daunting task of coming down from 3-1, but also doing it without their best player. And just kind of thinking of like the road ahead if they were to kind of miraculously come back against New York. And so sometimes, believe it or not, that all takes a toll on a team. And that's why you often see a team lose in game 5, because it's not so much like that it's terribly hard to win 3 in a row, but you kind of have like that psychological edge when you're up 3-1, where you're obviously like wanting to kind of end things. And so got to give it up to the Celtics, man. They didn't get off to like the hot starts like they had been getting off on the first 4 games. So I was like, oh man, like I can kind of see like potentially like the writings on the wall, and Knicks are gonna take this home like they really have with all close games. But you got to give it up to Boston. Obviously, some of the guys like Derek White and Jaylen Brown, they really had to step up. And 6th man of the year winner Peyton Pritchard obviously had a big game too, 17 points. And so I don't know, it looked like a team like the Knicks were just happy to get game 6 and happy to get a chance to win it there. And you had a Boston team that was like still hungry to win the series. And so that's kind of what I saw preliminarily speaking.
That's for sure. I got one player for you, and that would be Luke Cornett.
Ooh, I was going to say on the Knicks side somebody, but I'll talk about him in a second.
Yeah. So came into the third quarter, started the second half for Porzingis, which obviously Porzingis is just not right. Joe Mazzulla after the game said essentially he was having difficulty breathing, right? So essentially what he's trying to do out there, he's trying to play, but whatever viral infection that he's been dealing with since March and has either come back or lingered has caused an issue where he's just having difficulty just moving up the court. I mean, you can see it like in the first half where it's just like any play, he's just having difficulty keeping up with it, right? He just doesn't look the same. So you're not getting much out of him. He played 12 minutes and had like one point there. But Luke Cornett came in and pretty much dominated the third quarter for the Celtics. He became one of 5 players that have had 5+ rebounds and 5+ blocks in one single quarter.
That's crazy.
So if I were to ask you, could you name anybody on that list, Eric? I'll give you, there's 4 other players, obviously. He's the 5th guy, but any players you're thinking?
Mutombo?
That would be a close one. I would think on there. Well, the Dream, so Hakeem Olajuwon,
Okay.
and then we got Dwight Howard. Oh, Lakers' finest, JaVale McGee.
McGee.
Right, he had it, and then Serge Ibaka. So
Oh, okay.
those are the other four guys that have ever done that, and I want to say that having that type of game and that effort pretty
Nice
much
crowd to be with for sure.
help Boston and kind of take the lead, have a huge third quarter, and kind of never look back after that. So shout out to Luke Cornett just coming in and filling the role that he needed to fill. And that's what playoffs are about, right? You have other players that step up. You got a team that has championship experience, and they were able to get it done tonight.
Yeah, like we talk about unsung heroes all the time, and the Boston Celtics had a great second half, and Cornette definitely was a catalyst to start the third quarter and helped them build that lead. And they really just didn't look back this time around when they built the big lead. And so they all chipped in. I think we just a second ago, I talked about their big guns, Brown and Derek White chipping in, but it was going to take probably 7-8 guys to kind of get things going and do different things in order for them to win. And let's be honest, I mean, that's what they did. And man, I think Knicks are still in control. They still have a great chance to win the series. Obviously, I know you gave me that look like I think you said to Twitter World, hey, New York, don't let Boston get one. And they sure did. One.
So
see what happens. But yeah.
So my thing kind of going into it and going into this game, obviously losing Tatum is just undeniable, the worst thing that can possibly happen for this team. But when I kind of just looked at their lineup, and it's not like they lost Tatum, but then you got a all-star player like Jaylen Brown, right? You got a max player like Brown already there. You got Derek White, who can easily get you 20 to 30 a game if need be, right? Like if he's the second option, he can be that guy. Then you got a stud that's Drew Holiday, who always going to play hard on the defensive end, and he can get you 10 to 20 in that type of range there. You got the sixth man of the year, Perry Pritchard, who can get you points off the bench, have no issues with that. And the old reliable Al Horford, who just keeps. I mean, how old is he? 45 or whatever he is. But dude,
he's younger than LeBron. I know that, but he's up there.
I know that. But he's just so reliable. Like, he's not going to get you 30 or something like that, but he gets you a solid 12 to 15, anywhere in that range. Obviously, you don't know what you're getting out of Porzingis, and so the step up of Luke Cornett tonight was amazing for them. But just looking at their roster and kind of looking at that lineup, to me, they're better than half of the starting lineups in the league without Tatum still, right? Like just those championship core players that they have on, and adding like a Pritchard off the bench, if you include him in that six players, right? They're probably better than half the teams in the league, just like they're already. So creating some momentum by winning in Boston. They now know they can win without Tatum. And they hit 22 threes. It was a playoff record for them, right? So if they're hitting the threes, they're always a threat, and they're always a different team. My thing for New York is just don't let up in Game 6. Like if you take your foot off, I felt like tonight they kind of
don't lose Game 6. Don't lose Game 6.
I just felt like tonight they were like, "Oh, we're gonna get this win. It's gonna be easy. They don't have Tatum." Yep. It was tied 59 at the half. And Boston was just sticking around and eventually just cracked it in the third quarter. And man, how the Knicks fans were getting, they were already in the finals after game 5, the way they were celebrating. So just don't get cocky in Game 6. That's all I'm going to say for New York. Because if Boston brings it back for a Game 7, Knicks are in trouble.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Just to go back to your point, as far as not having Tatum. So we know that the Celtics, we probably could both agree they're going to need Tatum to win a championship, and they're a better team with him. But in the regular season, they did play 11 games. I think I saw they were 9-2 without him. And so, not a very small sample size, not a huge sample size either, but they
9-2.
9-2 is
That's
not bad.
bad.
They played about 10, 11 games, without him. And so, like I said in the beginning, like I wasn't really doubting they can win one playoff game at home without Tatum because they have a lot of talent. And so, New York is gonna they put themselves in a great position, right, where they have Game 6 at home, and they are able to, if they're able to win that, they're going to secure a spot in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I'm sure if you told them that to start the series, they would have taken that any day of the week, right? And so sure. New York's got to put this one away and worry about next game. Obviously, they saw a little bit about as far as like what Boston was going to do without Tatum there. So that could have been part of it, right? And now you have some game action to potentially adjust a bit. Man, OG Anunoby. Anu. I never thought I can't even pronounce his last name. I'm sorry, but never thought I would say his name so much. But he's solid, man. He's usually solid, and he's a big guy, and he's really good defensively. And I think when he's scoring, Knicks do well, and that's really been showing this series. And he had 6 points tonight, and Knicks obviously didn't fare well tonight. And so I think they're going to have to get back to him. And some of the others, like Mikal Bridges, only had 9 points. Like one of the other guys are going to have to step up and have a big night in Game 6 in order for them to win, in my opinion. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, Knicks got to get that one for sure.
Yeah, like you said, in Game 4, they needed 20 from OG, and he got exactly 20, and they won. And as soon as he goes silent, they're just a different team. So him and Bridges, right? Like if Bridges is not really getting his usual, like it's not a good sign, right? You can't just let Brunson do it all. They actually got 24 out of Josh Hart tonight, so that was a little big step up there. But in general, if Cat and Brunson are doing their thing, and you just need the others to step up and kind of finish it off. So if the Knicks are going to win in Game 6, I think OG is going to have a big game. Mikal Bridges is going to have a big game and really finish him off in that game there.
Yeah, it's going to be electric at Madison Square Garden. This is the biggest game in about 25 years for the Knicks coming up on would it be Friday? Right? I mean, I can't think of a bigger game in the last 25 years. And so you kind of already saw it tonight. There was actually, I don't know if you noticed, but there was actually a pretty good Knicks crowd at Boston Garden tonight. And so you could tell like they could feel it. And I think if it was 2-2 or Boston was up 3-1, I wouldn't really like hear the Knicks fans. And so the Knicks faithful are awesome. They're something else. And so I think the Knicks got to really ride that crowd and set up that date with Indiana for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, I think the Knicks are going to have to dial it back a little bit, because I feel like they already feel like they advanced to the finals, because they're seeing, Indiana's in the conference finals. We can get past them. Boston, Tatum is hurt. We can get past them. Just one game at a time. Handle your business and get into the next round, because the Indiana Pacers are not going to be an easy team, right? Nope. They're similar like those Minnesota Timberwolves. They're now been in the conference finals 2 years in a row for the Pacers, and That's 2 true. Years for the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's right. True. So these teams are playing right now. They're young, they're hungry, and they're ready to try to get it. So, Knicks, make sure you handle business and don't underestimate the Pacers if you get to the conference.
Yeah, don't even think about the Pacers right now, because you got Big Green right ahead of you, and
totally.
Boston, they're not going to beat themselves. They, like we've been saying all night, they still have players to again win one game, which would be Game 6 on the road. Yeah. So man, it's all the pressure's on New York now to win this game, because I know what you're going to say about Game 7.
No, I'm just saying, I think the Knicks might be shaking in their boots a little bit.
Oh,
just a tiny bit, because this game proved that Boston can still win. So let's see what happens on Friday.
Yeah. I mean, Knicks could win Game 6, and all could be well, but when you smell blood, and you gotta take them out when you can, because one thing a team can get and gain is confidence. And I mean, Tatum aside, Boston has really had their chances in every game this series, so that alone is should make it for a fun one on Friday night.
100%. All right. So before we get to our next topic, like always, guys, on the YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram chat, please let us know any comments, anything you guys want us to talk about, or just have any questions on the games. Let us know through the comment thread, and we'll try to answer those throughout the show.
Absolutely.
But
please give us a holler.
Yep. So the other game was the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Golden State Warriors. And unfortunately, Steph was still unhealthy to play in this game. He was cleared to do light work, but on-court work, but he just wasn't quite there. It's still only been 8 days since the hamstring strain. So it was likely he was going to be out until Game 6 at the earliest. However, Minnesota handled business, and there will be no Game 6 for the Golden State Warriors, which is unfortunate because they essentially lost all the games without Steph Curry. And that shows you how important Steph Curry is still to these Warriors.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's disappointing to have to go out of the playoffs because your star player's out. I mean, that's just got to be devastating for them because they did have aspirations for a title this year. And, based on how the playoffs were kind of shaking out, it looked like they could possibly have a chance too, right? And they won Game 1, and I think it would have been a totally different series with Steph Curry.
Yeah, like obviously unless they face each other next year or something, we'll never know what would have happened. We do know it would have been probably a longer than a 5-game series. I anticipate it would have been a real good series, right? And so kind of like how I figured, like I know a lot of people were still thinking Warriors had a chance, and they may have, but like when you have your superstar like not playing, like a team as the series goes on, they're just going to wear on you, and they're going to pick their spots. They know you have a big weakness or a big void, I should say. And so Warriors really hung in there the first few games of the series. And again, I think they almost not lost the series, because I think they would have still ended up not winning it if they had won Game 3. But by them losing Game 3, it really the series would have extended obviously longer. And I think once Minnesota won Game 3, I think like from the fourth quarter of Game 3 and on, they've totally had the Warriors figured out.
Yeah.
And so since that, like the last 9 quarters of this series, it was all Minnesota. And so, I mean, let's be honest, they did the same thing against the Lakers too. Obviously the Lakers series was a little tighter from game to game. But 5 games. So Minnesota is 8-2 in the playoffs so far. So they're dominating. And I do see Mr. Randall's numbers again tonight too, by the way. So don't sleep on that.
Let's give Mr. Randall his flowers, because he has been balling out in this series in particular, and then also just the playoffs in general. He's just been the Robin to the Batman, Ant-Man, right? I mean, he's been literally everything and more as advertised. And, I was thinking, I mean, of course we were talking about, Knicks need to get by and do all this stuff, but what if it's the Knicks and Timberwolves in the finals, and it's probably the first time a big trade has happened and those teams have reached the finals, and it would be like really like is it Towns or is it Randall who won the trade?
Yeah.
Right. So that could be a possibility, which is kind of crazy to think about. And let's just talk about these Timberwolves. They have now gotten past a LeBron Luka team, right? In 5. They have now gone past a Steph Curry, obviously Steph Curry list, but Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Warriors team in 5. And this is the second year in a row they've reached conference finals. They're young, they're hungry, and they have some stars that are eager eager to get to the finals. So do you think they have a legitimate chance against OKC or Denver going into the conference finals there?
Yeah, I think whoever the 4 teams are at the end. Of course, there's going to be the favorites, and there's going to be a matchup that we want to see or we think they're going to see. But if it's, for example, OKC, Minnesota, or Denver, whichever, but let's say OKC, Minnesota, and then Knicks in Indiana. I mean, you probably would have to give the edge to just OKC just because of the season they've had, but it wouldn't really shock me if any of those 4 teams won because, I mean, I think parity in the NBA might be real, man. I mean, I know injuries were probably a big part of it this year,
for sure,
but it's kind of interesting how like there really hasn't been a back-to-back champ in quite some time, and so yeah, I think it would, and kind of to going back to what you said about the trade with the Knicks and the T-Wolves, I think when that trade happened, I would have never imagined both of them being in the conference finals. And obviously Knicks still have to get there, but yeah, I would say OKC would be probably a big-ish favorite, but man, I mean, well, we know about who wins championships, right? In terms of seeding, but I think if parity is near, I think we may start to get some more of those lower seeds start to win some chips, and it could start this year with like a team like Minnesota.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, think about seeding, right? You still got OKC as the number 1. Obviously, you still have Boston's there, and then Knicks are at number 3. But other than that, it's just those 2, right? So there's might be a year, the 4th time in the NBA, a lower seed like that wins a championship.
3rd time,
so, yeah. 3rd time, right? Sorry, yeah, 3rd time. This would be the 3rd time. Now, Minnesota, I think they swept the Denver series, right? So that's interesting to kind of think about. Like they done well against Denver, and then
last year,
and then they're 2-2 against OKC in the regular season. So I think overall they're not scared of those 2 teams. They play them well. They beat Denver last year in the playoffs, and man. Anthony Edwards is not scared of nobody right now. The way he was after the Lakers winning, right? You're like, oh, he's cocky, he's this, but he essentially said, if we can beat LeBron and Luka, who else can we beat in this league? And he went in and literally beat Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler. And the way Minnesota made Jimmy Butler look this series, especially with Steph Curry going out, was to me the most remarkable thing of the whole series. Because Jimmy Butler did not look himself, except barring just one game where he had like a 30-plus game. He just wasn't the same. And he couldn't figure out how to get his game going like he would normally. Like the playoff Jimmy that we've seen, there was no playoff Jimmy in this series, essentially. And that's credit to the likes of Jaden McDaniels, right? He's a hell of a defender. Obviously, Rudy Gobert down low. And Anthony Edwards is a great defender, a great wing that you can throw on people. So they got a hell of a lot of players that can play both offense and defense, and they're a true threat to get to the finals.
Oh yeah, they were there last year. They obviously tweaked their lineup a bit, and so they've been there, done that. They want to do better than they did last year. They really just made Jimmy Butler the last couple games look very ordinary, and so that's not easy to do. And yeah, they're deep. They got guys that just love to defend, and whatever they get from those guys offensively is just kind of gravy. But yeah, it doesn't matter who it's, Denver or OKC. You gotta give Minnesota like as good of a chance to move on and even win the championship as much as any other Final Four team that's left. That's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So that is going to be an interesting series, whoever they play between OKC and Denver. But yeah, props to Minnesota because they are handling their business right now.
Absolutely.
So let's get to our next segment. It's our Something Happened Today segment where we always talk about injuries and things that are going on in the NBA playoffs. And I really just wanted to touch on the Jayson Tatum injury. Obviously, it was super unfortunate. He tore his Achilles, and it was interesting because that on that Monday night they really released nothing. Celtics didn't say anything, reporters didn't say anything, so you knew essentially it was pretty bad. All you heard was he was getting an MRI, but likely they knew it was torn because he in fact had surgery by the time they announced it. Right. So it's not like he was going to get the MRI on, Tuesday morning and then all of a sudden he's going to pop in the surgery room. Right. So they already knew that it was torn, and they wanted to go right into surgery so he can start his rehab as fast as possible. But when you think about timeline, and we still don't know all the details of the surgery, if he had the speed bridge technique that Aaron Rodgers had. Those are kind of techniques that help speed up the healing process a little bit. But typical rehab and timeline to return is about 9 to 12 months. Essentially, probably more than likely putting Jayson Tatum out for the 2025-26 season, barring some sort of ramp up in protocol that it will allow him to come back in like 6 months or something like that. We haven't seen that in the NBA yet, so I'm not really on the limb to say anything like that's possible. Thinking of Tatum and the Celtics just going into next year, what do you think the Celtics are going to do in the offseason as far as their roster? And are they going to not essentially blow it up, but are they going to have to make some moves because of all the salary that they're going to have?
So, I was going to talk about, like, obviously, even with Tatum and whenever the Celtics season was going to end, I was going to talk about how it's been widely reported that the Celtics were going to look pretty different next season. And it's just because of the kind of the way the salary cap is right now. So they have new ownership. You got a lot of money tied into a few guys, and they were potentially looking to shave off some salary. And so, the likes of like a Porzingis, Holiday, Horford, those guys like that were most likely going to probably not be on the team. I don't know if it would be all of them or not, but I don't know. I'm just interested now if you could presume that if with Tatum out, I'm not too sure if it changes things, or does it make it even more of a reason to do it, more of an excuse like, hey, Tatum's not going to be here. We're going to try to rebuild a little bit, like kind of on the fly, so that when he comes back the year after, we're ready to go. And so I think that's kind of what it's going to be like. I think, again, their season's not done yet. So it's obviously a little bit premature, but they were already rumors of it happening. And so I can't imagine that this would make things different. I think it would actually speed up that process. What about you?
Yeah, I think they're going to have to figure out how to get out of a few contracts there, more like Porzingis.
Yeah, he's gone.
I think like Drew Holiday is a great player to have regardless for your team. He is getting a little bit older, but he's always been super solid. Same with Derek White, obviously Jaylen Brown, things like that. So having those three kind of core guys would probably be important to continue with. And then probably in some sort of fashion, getting like a big guy to replace a Horford or a Porzingis, right? Just having somebody at that 4-5 position that they can kind of roll with, because they have a lot of guards, right? They have a plethora of guards that can score and kind of get buckets. You got Peyton Pritchard off the bench and everything like that. So I can see him making some moves like that. Nothing too drastic, I think, next season, because I don't think they want to tank for a whole season just because Tatum's out, because they still have a superstar in Jaylen Brown, right?
Yeah.
And essentially next year could be his year where he just physically dominates, averages like 30 or something like that, because now he
maybe MVP type of year. MVP type of year.
So it might be one of those years where let's see what you're made out of, right? Because you are always talked about being the guy, and then now you are going to be the guy for this season. So I think that might be a good strategy for them to kind of rely on. But obviously can't count them out this year yet. So let's see what they're made of and see if that can start now, and if they can get past the Knicks, and if they get past the Knicks and they're facing Indiana, that will be interesting because I think they can still compete with that type of team going into it.
Oh yeah, that'll. I mean, if they can get there, it'll still be a battle. And so, yeah. And sorry, just going back to just Tatum real quick before we move on, because with him getting the surgery so quick, I think you've kind of already answered it. But there was a lot of chatter, like, damn, like he went to surgery that fast. But it just seems like that's probably just to get going on the rehab as soon as possible. Right? I mean, versus like, is it because of the severity of it? They just really needed to get in there really quick, or is it a little bit of both? Or
Achilles are just a little different than, say, like the ACL, right? So a lot of times you'll see for the ACL they wait a little while because of the joint. So there's a lot of swelling in the joint. The Achilles is not a joint, right? So it's behind the actual ankle joint, and it's just a tendon that attaches. So there's going to be some swelling in that area, but it's just something that's as simple as just attaching that tendon back together, and then sewing it up and putting it back. And so the surgery is pretty, like, not that complex. There's some newer techniques to help speed up the healing process, but other than that, you can go in right away and do those type of surgeries. A lot of times with the ACL, they'll wait like a week or two just for that swelling to subside. Right. And because it's the joint that can be affected more, if you go in there and it's like completely blown up, they can have some more complications afterwards. But with Achilles, it's not really like that.
Do you think like I don't know, I'm just kind of trying to compare it to something. So like, for example, Tommy John, there was a time when a pitcher would have a Tommy John surgery where it was like, oh man, he's done. And then there was a time when somebody tore their Achilles and you're like, wow, he's done. Do you think, like, as time and advancements of this procedure, like, do you kind of see it like neck and neck with like a Tommy John, where it's like, I mean, as long as they're younger, they should probably come back in pretty good shape, or it just kind of varies on the person?
Yeah, that's an interesting comparison, because like with Tommy John, essentially it's almost made him like stronger as a pitcher when they come back.
Yeah, I know.
Just with the advancement in technology, and it's almost like inevitable for pitchers these days to undergo Tommy Johns, which is a whole nother topic, which is terrible.
Yeah,
because you got little. I got now that I see in my practice, little league elbow, which is just like, the fact that you're calling that a thing is just not a good thing, right? So from the youth, they're just pitching too much. But obviously, we're not going to get into that stuff.
That's another topic, but that's crazy.
Another topic, yeah. But as far as like the Achilles, at least we've seen some history of this recently, like Kevin Durant coming back and looking pretty much like Kevin Durant of old.
Absolutely.
And you've seen some football Achilles that they've come back and been okay. Like Aaron Rodgers, he's older and he came back and still was able to play through the season. Albeit the Jets sucked, but like he played all right individually, right? So I think we have a precedent. There's more people doing it. Obviously, it's happening more frequently, which is one thing. But people have come back and actually been more themselves. So I'm kind of like, in a way, I feel like Tatum will still be his same self, especially because he's young. It's just unfortunate because it doesn't make sense for somebody that young to kind of happen. Yeah. But it's one of those things that we're just still dealing with. And I got people out there talking about, oh, he's not doing enough calf training, all this bullshit and blah, 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 blah. Sometimes things just happen. No matter how much we've kind of trained them, you make the same damn basketball move. And Kobe talked about this before. I've made that move 1,000 times. Clay said, I've made that move 1,000 times.
Yep.
And sometimes it's just that time. And we don't know if he had any history of if he was on some Achilles pain or any tendonitis that was there. Sometimes those things are like precursors to an injury. But we have no idea what was the case with that. So to me, it was really like a fluke injury and just unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, from a basketball perspective, we see a lot more Tommy Johns than we do, ruptured Achilles. And so, man, it's like these guys that it's happened to, it feels like you said, like a move that they've done 1,000 times, and it was just for whatever reason their time. But yeah, man, hopefully figure a young guy like him just take the season off and come back stronger than ever. Chapter number 2. So
that's for sure. All right, so let's get into our game tomorrow, which will be the OKC Thunder versus the Denver Nuggets. Game 6 in Denver. OKC's up 3-2, and it was a hell of a game. Game 5 last night. Or I mean,
last night. Yeah,
it was last night. Yeah, hell of a game that Denver, in all intent and purposes, should have won that game, but fatigue down the stretch like they've been doing in some of these games in the playoffs, and essentially it's because they're only playing about 7 deep, and they tried to go to about 8 last night. But you could tell Joker was getting super tired. I mean, he made that amazing 3, but just fatigue, like towards the end, started putting his hands on his knees, just looked like he was huffing and puffing, right? So there's some of that going on. But what'd you see out of OKC last night, and what'd you see out of Denver?
I got to give a little small clap to OKC. They are just growing up before our eyes. So the last 2 games, game 4, game 5, Denver was in control early in the 4th, late in the 3rd. And you got to give it up to a team that we were just saying, hey, they've had a record of double-digit wins, but I want to see it when it's close in the playoffs. And so I think it is a team that is taking that experience from last year. I think I talked about how they lost game 5 at home last year in the same situation. And believe me, it was in the back of my mind as I watched last night's game. And so I think they knew that Denver was semi-running on fumes. They obviously have running with a short rotation right now. And so just got to give it up to them because they are coming through in the clutch. And it's been different guys, which is nice to see. Lou Dort had a nice run in the 4th last night, hitting three straight threes. Right? Yeah. Yep. And so that took it was 9. It went from 9 to a tie ball game. So yeah, it was pretty crazy to see. And so, I mean, going forward, I still kind of see this as a 7-game series, but Thunder got to be feeling pretty good. What did you see last night from them?
Yeah. And, we talked about this last time we were on the show. The Joker in this series has not had more than 6 assists, right? Yeah. And he hasn't had a 4-game stretch like that. Game 5, obviously, he had a great game, but again, he ended up with 5 assists. So he's just not the same facilitator that he's been in these playoffs. In this series, granted, he had 44 and 15, right? I mean,
I know.
Hell of a game. I'm not trying to hate on his game or what he did. He did everything possible for them to win. But Absolutely. What I see with OKC is they are picking him up so early. Like as soon as he crosses half court, Hartenstein's on him. Right.
Yep.
Or if he gives up the ball, Hartenstein's giving him an elbow. Like there's that possession where like Joker's basically throwing him off, then he catches on the wing, gives Hartenstein an elbow, then gives Hartenstein a push in the back, and he's getting some physicality in this series that is really, really like I wouldn't say bothering him, but is making him more tired than he probably should be.
Mm-hmm.
And it was even like Jalen Williams was in there, right? And he was bodying him. Like, he brought him and played 10 minutes and just bodied Joker the whole time. So they're bringing some physicality with these guys, and they're throwing different guys at him all the time. And I think that's kind of it's getting to him a little bit because he doesn't get to his normal spots, how he would facilitate and kind of create some momentum in moving the ball like the Denver offense would normally look like. However, he's had some guys. I did watch a couple plays where just like he would be passing to Jamal Murray and he missed a jumper. It's like some of his guys weren't making any of the jump shots either, especially Christian Brown. I think I saw like 4 passes to him and he was brick, right? So like he's made the right plays. Michael Porter was off. So he's made some right plays and they just haven't really made the shots either. So some of that is part of it. But OKC is making him work his butt off, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we knew he was going to come back from like an efficiency standpoint and have a big game, and he did. and you get 42 or 44 or whatever heck he had in 15, like that is typically enough to lead your team to victory, along with Murray, who had a really good game. And so that's the thing. I think that's a little bit concerning. A couple of years ago, if those two guys that would have games like that, in my opinion, it would be Ova, AOVA, Ova.
Yeah.
And but Michael Porter Jr., I mentioned earlier, he had 2 points, 1 for 7, 0 for 5 from 3. That's not going to get it done. I know he's banged up, but they need something from him. And so I think when Lakers played the Thunder in the regular season towards the end, we talked about how, man, we noticed how OKC plays defense, how they pick you up like at half court, right? And it really just causes fits, and it makes you work that much harder, so that when you get to the last 6 minutes of the fourth, you're exhausted. And that's kind of probably what happened there. And so definitely a tough game for the Nuggets, because they were up 12 or 13 or so with a few minutes left in the third. And that's the game you typically want to win. And so, I mean, for them, they got a home game. They got one game to win at home. Sure, they're going to be able to do it, but it will be interesting to see. I want to see what OKC has. I want to see if they have that killer instinct to go into Denver and the series and move on to the Western Conference Finals. What are your thoughts on Game 6?
Yeah, I think this is a huge game for OKC. Like, I feel like they have to prove to everybody and prove to themselves that they can win these type of games and kind of advance in the series. So if I were them, like, you got to close out Game 6, because I honestly don't like the feel of them going to a Game 7 in OKC and Denver getting their momentum and winning there in Game 6. So if I'm OKC, I just got to put wraps to this series. They are a favorite, obviously, in this game. They're like 4.5 point spread with that. So let's see what SGA and the rest of the boys are kind of made of, and see if they can get a win in Game 6.
Yeah, I mean, for us, like, I'm sure selfishly we want a Game 7. It's better for everything, better for business, obviously, better, for us in terms of being able to watch a game on Saturday.
Yeah.
But for an OKC standpoint, yeah, you get to a Game 7 against a veteran team, been there, done that before. It would be scary times for sure. But I look for it to be a real close game, kind of how it's been the last few, real tight going into the fourth. And let's see if somebody other than the Joker or Murray has a big game. And teams that when they're at home, the others tend to have more opportunity to have a bigger game. And so they're going to need that for sure. And again, on the OKC side, like, they want to play with fire. They want to end this. They know Minnesota is now going to be chilling, resting, waiting for the winner. And so I'm sure they'd love to get a few days of rest too before the conference finals start. Yeah,
that's for sure. And you got to remember, Denver's coming off a Game 7 in the first round, right? So they are probably exhausted. They've played a lot of games. They were also down 3-2 in the series. They were down 3-2 against the Clippers, right?
They were actually up 3-2, and then Clippers
were up 3-2. Oh, that's right. Clippers won Game 6.
Yeah.
Right. So then they forced them to a Game 7. So to me, they've been playing a lot, right? So they're probably a little exhausted. But that's part of the playoffs, and if they can get it done, that would be super important to get to that Game 7 for them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was trying to look at here when it would actually be. So Game 7 would actually be. So there's no game Saturday. Game 7 would be Sunday regardless. Sunday. So they get it.
Yeah, so it's kind of big. An extra day, which would be good for them.
Yep. And then I would anticipate probably the conference finals starting Tuesday, Wednesday. Probably some team starts on Tuesday, another on Wednesday, unless it's Monday, Tuesday, depending on when the Knicks and Celtics end their series. So yeah, man, it's gonna be a fun game tomorrow night. Only game on, and so it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, getting close to the finals, which is
crazy.
What the basketball is all about. But absolutely. I'll tell you one thing: there are two teams that are definitely not getting to the finals this year.
No,
and they have already gone on what we call summer vacation, and school is officially out for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Ready?
Beach
There you
ball.
go.
Oh, whoa. We got the baby sand beach right here. So Cleveland, they are going to be out of Ohio, and they're
Get your
probably going to be.
goggles.
Oh no. Oh no. He just. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. For the people watching or hearing this pod, my man Eric B. Matt got some kid goggles on,
Oh yeah,
and he is ready to go swimming.
they
And
hurt.
where do you think the Cavs are going this summer for their vacation?
What? There's not much to do in Cleveland. It's hard to say. Cleveland faithful. It's cold in the winter, right? We need some sunshine. We
Oh,
need
okay.
Jamaica, Bahamas, something in the Caribbean. I would say something nice. Maybe a little
Okay.
Dominican Republic, right?
Okay.
Something nice. But yeah, man, Cleveland, very, very disappointing. Did not expect them to go out in the second round.
That's for sure.
That is for sure. So,
Well, if wherever they are on summer vacation, can you let Donovan Mitchell know that he needs to show up in the playoffs because he has not reached a conference finals yet, and he's been to the playoffs every year of his career, I believe. So, wherever it is, have fun. And I know he's getting some sleepless nights because that's what he talked about. But the Cleveland Cavs will be watching the finals from somewhere else.
Absolutely. Sorry, those goggles are killing me. We'll keep them up there.
I definitely see those as kid goggles there. Right there.
They are. They're tight. So yeah, Cleveland. So they finished 64-18. Really solid regular season. Definitely fell short in the playoffs. It'll be interesting to see what they do next year because one school of thought is you make a bunch of changes. But with the East being so wide open next year, I think it's going to change something for some teams. And so they really are in a tough spot financially. They got their big guys in really big contracts. So not much wiggle room there. Ty Jerome is their only really notable free agent next year. They may need to let him walk from what I'm seeing and hearing.
And he had a hell of a year too.
He did. Yeah. He had a hell of a year. So he can, maybe make some money elsewhere. I personally think they may need to do something with Darius Garland, in my opinion. Might be a little bit redundant with having him and Mitchell.
I've heard some rumors that they might like some Austin Reeves over there. Which would be a good feat, but
don't give me. I don't want.
The way they're getting Austin Reeves is if we get Evan Mobley, and that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That would be nice. But yeah, the rumors will start. What about for Jared Allen? Yeah.
Okay. We need a big man, but I don't know if he is a solid guy though.
Yeah.
So if we can negotiate a Darius Garland and Jared Allen and for Reeves, Hachimura, and some draft picks, then maybe we can get done. I don't know about draft picks. That's a lot. Maybe one draft pick there.
Yeah, we might be talking. So yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what happens with Cleveland, but we do know school is out for them. And enjoy your summer, guys. You had a failure of a playoff. Let's be honest. So try to retool and maybe get back to things next year.
That's for sure. And we got one last team that happened tonight. Unfortunately, my pick to win it all, the Golden State Warriors have now officially been let out of school, and they are on summer vacay. Unfortunately, without Steph Curry, they could not get it done. They're going into an off season, and they're going to get older. Steph is going to be 38. Jimmy Butler's going to be 36, and Draymond Green's going to be 36. Yeah. So wherever they go this summer, I hope it's somewhere to relax and get some sleep because they're going to need to hibernate and get their bodies right and be ready for next season.
Yeah, they'll have to go somewhere more chill, in my opinion, because they got to rest. It's definitely a tough way to go out, man. I'm sure if they look at things, I'm sure if Curry was healthy, they probably would have had almost as good a shot as anyone, especially knowing how the landscape of the playoffs are moving forward. I feel like they will have like that. I mean, I don't know. I guess we keep saying one more year, but they will have Jimmy Butler under contract next year. They'll have a full season with him. Warriors will pick up a couple guys that make a difference. It's just kind of what they do. They do have a couple, notable free agents, Gary Payton and Buddy Hield. So that'll be some, big decision making there in terms of what they want to do with that. There could be some trades on the horizon. I know there's some big names out there that obviously a lot of rumors and things. But for now, fortunately, another year gone, and officially a school is out for the Dubs.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to figure out the Kuminga situation. And
either restricted free agent. Sorry, Kuminga. Jonathan Kuminga is a restricted free agent. Forgot about that. So
they're going to have to figure that out, whether or not they,
and Moody too. Moses Moody and Kuminga.
Yeah, so they got some young guys that they're going to have to figure out, and they don't really have the money to pay them essentially. Right. So even if Kuminga signs a big contract with somebody, right? Like, are they willing to match? And if they do match, what does that even mean? Because I feel like they would trade him anyways, because it's just one of those things that like it just hasn't been a fit when all three of the stars have been healthy. It's been hard to fit him in, which you think he would, but essentially it hasn't happened. So essentially, school's out for them, and they will be watching the finals from somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, if they lose Gary Payton, Buddy Hield, Moses Moody, and Jonathan Kuminga, I mean, that's a big some players that obviously were pretty big for them this season. So yeah, man, they have a tough off season ahead, just like a lot of other potential contenders. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, school's out, summer vacation's here. Enjoy it.
All right. So with that being said, good show. We'll more than likely be on tomorrow to kind of talk about the OKC Denver game, and hoping that's one of those games that at least we can get a game 7. But other than that, Hoops Rehab team is always here after the NBA. And for right now, we are out.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. Peace out.
Good night, everybody. Peace out.